If you're moving to Massachusetts and you haven't picked a region yet, stop looking at listings. Seriously, close the tab, because the North Shore, South Shore, MetroWest, and Boston are four completely different ways of life, and picking your home or your town before you pick the region is how people end up regretting a six-figure decision. Hey, I'm Michael. Before I was ever in real estate here, I used to visit Massachusetts for a weekend every fall, and I fell in love with it. That's actually how I ended up living here. I imagine some of you watching this are in a very similar spot. You visited, you felt something special about this place, and now you're trying to figure out where you'd actually like to plant yourself if you made it permanent. I've spent over 13 years helping people relocate into the Boston, North Shore, and Southern New Hampshire area, and one pattern I consistently see is buyers falling in love with a region based on a single visit or a friend's recommendation without really understanding what trade-offs they're signing up for. But vacation vibes don't always match the reality of living somewhere for years. So today I want to walk through 4 of the major regions that people consider. 1 pro, 1 con each. No rankings. This isn't about which one is best, because there isn't really a best. There's only what fits how you actually want to live. So let's start on the North Shore. This is the coastal area north of Boston, stretching towards the New Hampshire line. The pro here is character and access to the water. You get historic towns, working harbors, beaches, a real sense of place that doesn't feel manufactured. A lot of my clients who move here say it feels like they found a slower version of New England they didn't know still existed this close to a major city like Boston. There's also a strong sense of community in a lot of these towns, the kind where you actually know your neighbors, and there's a real town center, not just a strip mall. The con, and I'll keep it brief because I know I've talked about commute in basically every other video, is that the commute varies a lot town to town. Some have a direct line into the city, some really depend on driving. It's worth mapping out, but not the focus today. Now to the South Shore, which sits south of Boston along the coast towards the Cave. And look, I have to say this, there's a real rivalry between the North Shore and the South Shore people about which side is better. Now, I'm not going to pick a side here, partly because I don't think there's a right answer, and partly because I'd like to keep getting calls from both. I'll let you decide for yourself. I will say I live on the North Shore, so take that for whatever it's worth. Now, the pro on the South Shore is that the ocean feeling, that the smell in the air, the salt in the air, shapes daily life in a more pronounced way. It feels more coastal, more beach town, day to day, and that holds true even in towns that aren't directly on the water. The ocean's influence kind of radiates inland across the whole region. The North Shore has a seasonal pull too. It leans a bit more towards that classic New England autumn leaf peeping feel, especially closer to New Hampshire. So even within coastal Massachusetts, you're choosing between 2 different relationships with the season and the water. Now the con on the South Shore, similar story on commute depending on the town, but the bigger thing to know is that the South Shore can feel a little bit more spread out. Town centers aren't always as walkable or as concentrated as what you'll find in parts of the North Shore. Are you thinking about relocating north of Boston? Well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've linked it down below. From top employers to the best hospitals and a boatload of other things that you need to know before making a move. The best part is that this guide is 100% free. That's right, you heard me right. It's just 100% free. So just click the link in the description or the top pinned comment. Hope that helps. Now MetroWest. That's the area west of Boston, along the Mass Pike, Route 9, and even the Route 2 corridor. The pro is the range you get within this one region. Closer in, you've got established suburban towns with sidewalks, town centers, even little city areas, and sometimes that classic suburban feel. But push out a little bit further west and it starts to border on something almost rural, farmland, conservation land, a noticeably quieter pace. So MetroWest can actually give you suburban and almost country living within a fairly short drive of each other, which is unusual. The con is that this region covers a much more broad range of price points than the North and the South Shore. On the coast, you've got more options that stay within a similar feel and budget. In MetroWest, the spread is so much wider, so you really need to narrow down to a couple of specific towns early on. You really have to get specific about which part, because the suburban side and the rural side are genuinely different kinds of lifestyles. Now, about this, I had clients who bought a house in Chelmsford, which was a busy, almost city-like center. They loved the house itself, loved it, no question there. But the house sat well outside of the center, away from the walkable part of town. And over time, the distance started to wear. They'd picked the town for the lively center, but they weren't actually living near it. And they fell out of love with the town, even though they never fell out of love with the house. That's the MetroWest trap. The region can have a real identity in one spot and feel completely different a mile or 2 away. Boston itself. The pro is obvious. Walkability, culture, restaurants, close to work, access to everything without needing a car for daily life. If an urban lifestyle is what you're after, nothing else on this list replicates it. The con is space and pace. Homes and condo units tend to be smaller for their price point compared to the suburban regions, and city living comes with a different rhythm, more noise, less privacy, more density in general. For some people, that's energizing. For others, especially those coming from quieter areas, it can be an adjustment they didn't fully anticipate. If this kind of regional breakdown is useful to you, subscribe because I'm going deeper on these comparisons in upcoming videos, including how to actually narrow down which towns within these regions will fit you specifically. So here's the real takeaway. None of these regions is right or wrong. They're just different answers to the question of how you want your daily life to feel. Coastal versus inland, urban versus suburban, walkable versus spread out. The mistake isn't picking any one of these regions. The mistake is picking one without being honest with yourself about which trade-offs you can actually live with and are looking for long term. And honestly, that's not something a website or a video like this can even answer for you. It's something that you figure out in an actual conversation and an actual visit, where someone can ask you the right questions instead of you making guesses by yourself. One more thing worth saying. I work across all 4 of these regions, North, South, MetroWest, and Boston. But more importantly, I also know strong professional agents in each of these areas. So if it turns out that I'm not the right fit for a specific town that you're looking at, I can connect you with somebody who is. Either way, you're not stuck trying to figure this out on your own. So if you're ready to actually talk it through, that's the better next step. Reach out, let's get on a quick call. That's the fastest way to figure out if your instinct about a region matches the reality.